Okay, Warriors Nation, let's have a serious, potentially uncomfortable conversation. Ryan Rollins, 32 points. Against us, at Chase Center. I saw the reactions. I read the comments. I felt the collective groan ripple through the fan base. The one that got away. We let a future star slip through our fingers. Bring him back immediately. The narrative practically writes itself, doesn't it? A young, underestimated talent we discarded, now returning to haunt us with a career-defining performance. It's the classic redemption arc, the told-you-so moment that every fan dreads. But before we all lose our minds, before we start demanding the front office immediately re-sign Ryan Rollins and crown him the savior of our franchise, let me ask a brutally honest question that nobody else seems willing to confront. Are we really going to make a major roster decision based on one game? Is one explosive performance against us enough to erase an entire body of work that led to him being waived in the first place? Because I'm here to tell you something that might sting. The Warriors made the right decision letting Ryan Rollins go, and bringing him back now would be a classic, emotion-driven mistake. Let's establish the facts, the uncomfortable reality that everyone seems eager to ignore in the wake of that 32-point outburst. Ryan Rollins was a second-round pick by the Warriors in 2022. He spent limited time with the team, bouncing between the NBA roster and the G League. During his tenure with Golden State, he showed flashes, sure, but he was wildly inconsistent. His defensive awareness was lacking, his decision-making was questionable, and he simply didn't fit into the Warriors' complex read-and-react offensive system. He wasn't ready for prime time, and the coaching staff, after careful evaluation, determined that his developmental timeline didn't align with the team's championship aspirations. So, they made a tough but rational decision. They let him go. He was subsequently picked up by the Milwaukee Bucks, where he's continued to be a fringe rotation player, averaging modest numbers and primarily seeing minutes in garbage time or when the team is dealing with injuries. And then came that one game, 32 points. A scorching shooting performance where seemingly everything he threw up went in. It was impressive, undeniably so. But let's inject some much-needed perspective here. One game does not define a career. One game does not erase an entire history of inconsistency and developmental struggles. We've all seen it before. A young, unproven player has a breakout performance against a specific opponent. Fans overreact, the narrative explodes, and suddenly everyone's convinced they've discovered the next superstar. But what happens next? More often than not, that player regresses back to their mean. That explosive performance revealed itself to be an outlier, and the hype evaporates as quickly as it arrived. The harsh reality is that Ryan Rollins is not, and likely never will be, a consistent, high-impact NBA player. His 32-point game was an anomaly, a perfect storm of hot shooting, favorable matchups, and the Warriors perhaps taking him lightly. Looking at his broader body of work with the Bucks, he's averaging single-digit points per game with underwhelming efficiency, limited defensive impact, and minimal contributions to winning basketball. These are the numbers that matter, the data points that reveal the true picture, not one fluky performance that everyone wants to cling to. Now, some analysts and commentators are suggesting that bringing Rollins back would be a low-risk, high-reward move. They argue that he's young, versatile, and wouldn't require a significant financial commitment. On the surface, that sounds reasonable. But let's dig deeper. What problem does Ryan Rollins actually solve for the Golden State Warriors? We need interior depth, consistent three-point shooting from reliable veterans, and defensive versatility off the bench. Rollins provides none of those things. He's a combo guard who's still figuring out his role, a player who needs minutes and development to potentially realize his ceiling. We don't have the luxury of development minutes right now. We're in win-now mode, trying to maximize Stephen Curry's remaining prime years. Bringing back a player who couldn't crack our rotation when we had less talent makes absolutely zero strategic sense. Furthermore, making a roster move based purely on emotion, on a sense of what could have been, is a recipe for disaster. Front offices that operate on sentiment rather than cold, hard analysis are the ones that make terrible decisions that get stuck with bad contracts and underperforming players. The Warriors' success has been built on ruthless evaluation, on making tough calls even when they're unpopular. Letting Ryan Rollins go was one of those tough calls, and it was a correct one. Reversing that decision now, simply because he had one good game against us, would be a sign of weakness, a capitulation of fan pressure and nostalgic longing. The narrative that Rollins is some underestimated talent that we foolishly discarded is simply not supported by the evidence. He was evaluated, he was given opportunities, and he didn't seize them. That's not a tragic story of mismanagement. That's the reality of professional sports. Not every draft pick pans out. Not every young player develops into a rotation-caliber contributor. Rollins falls into that category, and pretending otherwise is just wishful thinking. Some will argue that he's improved since leaving the Warriors, that the change of scenery has unlocked something in him. But again, where's the evidence? One game? That's not improvement. That's variance. If he were genuinely blossoming into a reliable contributor, he'd be earning consistent minutes and putting up solid numbers on a nightly basis. He's not. He's still a fringe player, struggling to carve out a consistent role. For the Warriors YouTube channel, for the passionate fans who live and breathe this team, the Ryan Rollins story is undeniably compelling. It's the classic what if, the player who got away. But we need to resist the temptation to romanticize it, to let one performance cloud our judgment. Rollins is not the answer to our problems. He's not the missing piece. He's a reminder that sometimes letting a player go is the right decision, even if it stings in the moment. In summary, Ryan Rollins' 32-point game was impressive, but was an outlier, not a trend. The Warriors made the correct decision letting him go, and bringing him back now would be a reactive, emotion-driven mistake that solves none of our actual roster needs. We need to focus on proven, reliable players who can contribute immediately, not on reclamation projects based on a single hot shooting night. Rollins represents a missed opportunity? No, he represents a sound evaluation and a tough but necessary roster decision. So, Warriors Nation, here's my challenge. Let's not get caught up in the emotion of one game. Let's be rational, let's be strategic, and let's focus on the players who can actually help us win a championship right now. Ryan Rollins is not that player. Are we going to make smart decisions? Or are we going to chase ghosts based on nostalgia and one fluky performance? What do you think, Warriors Nation? Am I being too harsh on Ryan Rollins? Or is this the dose of reality we all need? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments below. If you agree that we need to move on and focus on realistic targets, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more honest, no-nonsense analysis of your Golden State Warriors. Let's keep it real.